Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join this very special Smile Train meeting. My name is Roberto Flores. I am a member of the Global Medical Advisory Board for Smile Train. I'm also the Joseph G. McCarthy Associate Professor of Reconstructive Plastic Surgery at NYU Langone Health and also Cleft Lip Palate. I've been involved with Smile Train for over 10 years, in particular with the use of simulation and simulation resources to help cleft care specialists learn learn how to do a cleft care really at the highest level possible. In this talk, we're joined by many members of Smile Train and also a good friend of mine and associate, Aaron Oliker. He's a Chief Innovations Officer for BioDigital Systems, and he's been a Smile Train partner for over 21 years. Before we go into the formal part of the presentation, just want to go through some housekeeping details. One, you will have the opportunity to ask me questions that will be fielded by Smile Train, and I will go over these questions. So please use the chat to ask your questions. We will make an attempt to answer all your questions. If we do not have time to do so, Smile Train will follow up and send you a message in response to your question. Also, this talk will be interpreted in multiple languages. If you look at the bottom of your screen on the right side, there should be a globe. If you click on that globe, you can choose the language that you would prefer to hear this lecture in. And then also you'll have the option of muting the background, meaning my voice, if you just want to hear the interpretation of what I'm stating. So with that, we'll get started, and I look forward to answering your questions during and after this talk. So in my capacity as a cleft surgeon, this is what this is the central part of my practice. Young children with cleft lip and palate and older people. And basically my charge, I have two primary charges in where I am. The first one is getting the child from one aspect of care to really get the kind of highest level of functional and aesthetic outcomes possible. The other part is the director of our cleft unit really is in teaching. And this is a very central part of my life here. And as we know, the surgery is something that is a very elaborate surgery that takes really years and decades of work to really get it at the level that the children deserve. The major resource that surgeons use in the operating room to prepare for their time in the operating room really is the textbook. And these are images taken from a premier textbook that's available right now. And this is actually a very high quality drawing. But when you really think about how complicated cleft care is, this very kind of flat drawing can only do so much in interpreting this, in conveying this complex three-dimensional information. Many years ago, Smile Train partnered with BioDigital Systems, and Dr. Court Cutting, who is a member of the Global Advisory Board and a former chair. He's also a renowned cleft surgeon and one of my mentors. And they all shared a vision that somehow in the textbook is something that really can be improved upon. And they looked at computer systems to actually show a much more elaborate representation of this procedure. So rather looking at a textbook, this digital animation was created. It really demonstrates so many detailed aspects of the cleft surgery itself. Tissue can be rendered transparent. You can see what the dissection plane should look like. You can see the inside of the nose and see the cartilages as they're manipulated. And in a very brief period of time, a lot of very detailed information can be conveyed that'd be otherwise difficult to communicate through a textbook drawing. In addition, with these animations, high definition intraoperative video footage can be also made available. And in this case, this first generation resource was a DVD that was released through SmileTrain. And in it, you had these digital animations, a voiceover, and intraoperative video footage showing the details of these elaborate operations. Think about a pharyngeal flap. These are images also from textbooks that show how to do a pharyngeal flap procedure. And for those of us who do this surgery, a lot of us will recall the first several times we did this surgery, it was very difficult to really understand the three-dimensional aspects of how the incisions are made, how the tissue is folded over, how you line the flap. And yet, through a digital animation, we can show that the soft palate is split. We see the flap taking from the posterior aspect of the pharyngeal wall and the donor side closed. And in cases where you would want to line the flap, you see how the lining tissue is taken from the nasal aspect of the soft palate and how everything is put together in order to create lateral ports so that breathing is still maintained. And yet the central defect that's present through velopharyngeal incompetence is filled through this pharyngeal flap. Again, the use of digital animation, computers truly convey complicated information so that surgeons can better understand how to perform these procedures. Well, these DVDs were, tens of thousands of them were shipped for free by SmileTrain to surgeons all over the world. And this was something that was really a game changer in terms of the way we teach surgical procedures. However, as we know, technology is undergoing continuous evolution. Even back then, it was realized that the DVDs would eventually become a thing of the past, and now officially they are. And at that time, the big next wave of information was coming through the internet. So this led to another evolution. And this was where I came in. And this was a SmileTrain virtual surgical simulator. So rather than have something in a DVD, we should have something that's available immediately on the web through any kind of internet access. So this is a web-based surgical simulator with all the cardinal surgeries of cleft lip and palate demonstrated, the primary surgeries. And in this case, it's a three-dimensional digital simulation. So this is different than seeing just a movie. This is actually a virtual three-dimensional face in which the movie itself can be advanced. You can stop it, you can go back, you can turn the face at will, you can travel into it. You can see how every flap moves and is transposed, and I'll show demonstrations of this. And this will really be a multimedia tutorial. It'll be a digital simulation, high definition intraoperative video, text, and voiceover, all at the control of the user. And in this case, these simulations are available in 5 languages: English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Chinese. And the access is free. There's actually no fee to be that you have to pay to use. You can access this through your laptop computer, not through your phone, but through
tu laptop, computadora, pero no el teléfono o cualquier otra computadora. Ahora los
para esse simulador são vários.
有好几个，因为它通过解剖可以看到它的硬额。
cubren cada parte. Si lo ven ahí en la pantalla,
that are dedicated to the markings that are used for the surgical repair. That's for pharyngeal flap, radical intravelar veloplasty, cleft palate repair, the cutting bilateral cleft lip repair, DeBell rhinoplasty, furlow double opposing Z-plasty, and the molar unilateral cleft lip repair. There's also the procedures, of course, the surgical procedures that are part of the surgery: pharyngeal flap, cleft palate repair, the cutting bilateral cleft lip technique, DeBell rhinoplasty, furlow double opposing Z-plasty, molar cleft lip repair, and fan flap reconstruction of the palate. And then finally, we have additional modules that have just been, and more recently been added, that have to do with speech. For paddle fistula reconstruction, velopharyngeal dysfunction, compensatory articulations, and glottal stop. This is a video capture of what the online simulator looks like. You can see the website top, and you can see that this this bar is being slowly advanced, and we can see the three-dimensional surgery being portrayed to us. On the right-hand side of the screen, you also see a text box. And right now, the user is actually manipulating the face. You can go into the face, you can change your perspective, you can advance, you can go backwards and see how every little flap comes together. The tissue can be rendered transparent, and you can really have a much better anatomic understanding of how this procedure is done in preparation for the operating room. So the point is to use this prior to surgery so you or the people that you are teaching and training understand this procedure. We're going to go through, and I'm going to show a video soon, and also a text box that will have an audio.
A long-lasting absorbable suture is placed through the dermomuscular pennant under the alar base. Using the suture as a leash, the location of the anterior nasal spine suture is sighted. The suture is then placed through the area of the anterior nasal spine and the medial crura on the non-cleft side.
So every part of the surgery has an audio component, has an associated video. So if you wanted to see, in this case, how the alar base is set, you can click onto the video icon and you have a YouTube link showing that exact step of the procedure and how it's done. So you have the video complementing the step of the simulation that's done, and a audio voiceover. And again, this is in 5 languages. So if you're Brazilian and you want to hear this in Portuguese, you have that option. We've done a lot of research on the availability and also the efficacy of learning through this type of resource. Prospective randomized trials, many of which have been published in the plastic surgery journals. If you are interested in reading some of this material to understand its utilization, you can contact SmileTrain or me, and we'll be happy to share this information with you. So we're very happy with our ability to be able to provide a digital virtual textbook for cleft care to cleft specialists, at which they could access through their laptop computer. However, evolution keeps on happening, and what we have seen in the last 5 years is that computers are becoming less and less used, and where people are going to get information really are their phones. And particularly in low to middle income countries, most people have phones, and actually having computers and computer access is something that can be more and more limited. But just about everyone has a smartphone, not everyone, but many people do have smartphones and smartphone accessibility, even in low and middle income countries. So the thought was, our 3rd generation, instead of having this available as a website link, it should be an app on your phone. And this is what this is really what this talks about. It's about this 3rd generation evolution of the SmileTrain simulator, which is now available currently on a phone app. It has all the capabilities of the web simulator that I've detailed. The simulation, the high definition intraoperative video footage, the text, the voiceover, and in 5 languages. It has the additional simulations that I've detailed. It's available both on an iPhone and on an Android phone. So pretty much the 2 cardinal smartphones. And as always has been the spirit of SmileTrain, the access is free. What I'm going to show is a video. This is a screen capture of my own phone showing how to download the app. So I have an iPhone. So I simply go to the App Store and I type in SmileTrain. So this is right here. This was a couple days ago, and there's SmileTrain, and I click upon the SmileTrain link, or I touch upon it, and then you see here SmileTrain Virtual Surgical Simulator. This is what you want. I already have this downloaded, so it gives me the option to open rather than to get, and this is what the simulator would look like on your phone. and you see the different cleft procedures that are available. And also, if you click on the 3 bars here, there'll be a more comprehensive menu really showing all the procedures that are available, and there are many. Remember, the anatomy, markings, procedures, and also speech-related simulations. I'm going to show a demonstration of one of these these simulations, excuse me, and there will be a voiceover here.
The M flap is dissected free from the orbicularis oris with care not to injure the delicate mucosal flap. The C flap is then elevated off of the orbicularis oris with care to stay within the subcutaneous plane. This dissection is continued into the A.
So through your phone, you can, again, in this case, advance, go backwards, go focus in, zoom in on any portion of the procedure, and also change your perspective so you really understand how this particular surgery or any of the surgeries that are performed through the simulator is executed. Just like in the other simulators, we have a voiceover. We have a text box, which you see at the bottom, which details what is being stated. And you have high definition intraoperative video footage. So in this particular step of the operation, where the L flap is being mobilized, I can open up this link and see how the L flap is carefully dissected off of the lateral lip element. Once I finish seeing that, I can go on and go to another portion of the operation. And in this case, I'm going to the inset of the alar base. So if I wanted to see how that's happening, I can open up a video screen and see intraoperative video footage showing that portion of the operation. And then later in the procedure, I can go to the inset of the C flap and opened up that particular aspect. What I find with my own trainees is that surgeons who have a basic understanding of the procedure are more dependent on the animation. And as their knowledge increases, they use the animation, but they depend more on the video, which shows a lot of the technical nuances of the procedure. So both are actually very useful for surgeons in training. And here we've gone to the end of the operation. And this is just one screen capture from my phone that shows what the visual experience will be using this SmileTrain application. So how do I use this, right? As a surgeon, as a teacher, basically, for the surgeons in the audience, the operating room really is our classroom. This is where, as an observer and as a gradual person who's involved in the procedure, this is where you do your learning. But the use of this application is to prepare surgeons and surgical trainees prior to go to the operating room so they come in with the best understanding of the procedure and get the most out of the surgery when they're in there. So I basically have my trainees use this app prior to coming to the operating room, and so they are fully prepared for the surgery. After the procedure, if there's certain technical nuances that they want to review with me, I can open up the app and I can go over that specific portion of the procedure with them, talk about how I do the primary rhinoplasty, the kind of dissection I do underneath the alar base, the nuances of really putting the muscle together in a functional fashion. And all my residents have this. Since this is a freely based app, I encourage all of you, even during this talk, to just download this on the phone and use it. And I would also encourage you to give us feedback. At a certain point, SmileTrain may be reaching out to you and asking you for feedback about your experiences with this. And I would strongly encourage you to answer those requests, because that's the only way that we can make this better. And it's always been kind of our mission to provide the best resources possible. So as a summary to this presentation, SmileTrain, in partnership with BioDigital Systems, has created and released a Cleft Simulator phone app. It's our 3rd generation digital resource, available anytime, anywhere through your phone. It's available through an iPhone or Android, and access is free. It includes a digital simulation high definition intraoperative video footage, text, voiceover, and is available in 5 languages. And additional simulations have been added. So I'm happy to field any questions from the audience. You could also email researchinnovation@smiletrain.org, or you can at a later time send me a direct message through Instagram. But for now, you can feel free to send Priya questions through the chat, and she can moderate the question and answer period.
Great. So I actually have a few that have already come through. So this one is for Dr. Flores. Are there any planned expansions for the simulator? And can you give us a few details on that, please?
Yes, they absolutely are. One aspect that we feel that could benefit from further simulation is the orthodontic aspect. Right now, we are working with Dr. Pradeep Shetty, who is a master craniofacial and cleft orthodontist, to create some orthodontic related simulations that are focused on primary alveolar bone graft preparation. So this is one of the next steps, but I would say that SmileTrain and to their credit, really have really been committed to continually expanding not only the quality, but also the repertoire of simulations. So who knows what the future will hold, but if past this prologue, I would not be surprised if this continued to expand even further.
Thank you. Another question is, what has the impact of the SmileTrain virtual surgery simulator been on surgical training, particularly during this time, as you observe it in your practice, and what is the potential or what is the utility for this innovation in developing countries?
Okay, so there's a lot there. So I would say that this innovation is timely. I mean, it's been the use of computers to teach surgery has been a major innovation of SmileTrain. It's been in process for over 10 years at this point. However, now with COVID, I think the value of it has really gone up, the appreciation for something like this, because it's more difficult for us to have meetings now, right? Previous to COVID, in any given year, I would have many visitors from different parts of the US, from different parts of the world, coming to see the surgery that's performed by our cleft and craniofacial team. That cannot happen now. And traveling from country to country is very difficult. So now the other resources that are available become that much more precious, right? It's not unlike the Peloton phenomenon in the United States, right? All of a sudden this bike gym thing becomes a lot more valuable. And what we found is this, both the web-based and the app, the SmileTrain app, has become very valuable and valued, because a lot of the resources, one, because of the quality, but also the other resources that people have previously depended on are not available to them. And now people are appreciating that I can learn so much just on my phone, right? Because we're limited in how we can travel. We're limited in how we can interact. In the developing world, in low to middle income countries, though, I think those problems are even compounded because there are financial limitations, right? There could be limitations of infrastructure. There could be limitations on how even getting a textbook can be hard. Getting the right kind of internet access can be hard. But so many people have a phone, and this app is free. So once you have it, you have access to pretty much a highest quality digital simulator that you can get on your phone. So it is a tremendous contribution by SmileTrain.
Dr. Flores, could you comment a little bit on, in terms of the expense associated with simulation? I mean, this is, you've said this throughout your presentation, that this is a free app, which is amazing, but I think most institutions, this is quite an expensive endeavor, isn't it? Digital simulation.
Yes, it is. So this, when I say it's free, nothing's free. It's free. It's freely available. This is being supported by SmileTrain and through it's being supported with philanthropic support through SmileTrain. You know, I think it takes a organization that's this big and has the wherewithal of an NGO of this scale to do something like this. But no, this is something that requires donations to maintain.
Thank you. The next question I have is for Aaron Oliker, who is the developer behind the SmileTrain virtual surgery simulator. Aaron, are you with us?
I'm here.
Excellent. Our viewers and our audience would like to know, you know, it's a unique position for you to be in to help design what is really a surgical process. And what did you have to learn essentially about cleft surgery to kind of bring all of this together?
Well, it's been a 20-year, 2-decade process. And we originally, as Dr. Flores mentioned, we worked with Dr. Cort Cutting in the first years creating these animations. So, you know, it's been a 20-year learning process to go through what we need to learn. We had many master surgeons working on this with us, and with anything else, it takes time, financial resources, time in the operating room. We had to film a lot of these surgeries, not just once, but multiple times. And then many iterations to really create this. It's not just something that you do. It's something that does take quite a bit of time, but we're very lucky to have physicians like Dr. Flores and you know, they say that you walk on the shoulders of giants, and we with the help of, you know, Dr. Cutting and now Dr. Flores, we're able to create these amazing modules. Very lucky to have the support of SmileTrain to do so.
Could you tell us a little bit about the history, Aaron? I don't think many people know how the first digital simulations and the first atlas of models came to be with SmileTrain patients. Could you share a little bit of that? Because I think you were very much involved with the design and the very beginning of all of this.
Yeah, these were actually the first, some of the visualizations that Dr. Flores showed you were the first surgical animations to ever be built. The actual companies that created them, like the software to build it, which was something called Maya. It's all been Hollywood before, where people would make movies. And about 1999, we decided, Dr. Cutting and Charles Wong decided that this would be something that could be effectively used to teach surgery, and no one had really done it before. And so we took these tools, these 3D Hollywood tools, and tried to repurpose them to create surgery. And that's where I came aboard as the first animator. And we have the first published paper for surgical animation. And Yi Young and Farong donated their scans. And those are the two models you see for the unilateral and bilateral cleft models. And they donated their scans. We scanned them. We developed the workflow. And this was the first of thousands of different surgical animations out there right now. And so we've been very lucky to kind of get in on the ground floor, so to speak. Yeah. But yeah, that's a little bit of the history.
Excellent. I have a research question, and this is for Dr. Flores. What research has been done to demonstrate the utility of the SmileTrain virtual surgery simulator? And have you yourself done any studies that you can talk about?
Yes. So I have published prospective randomized trials using the SmileTrain simulator. One, we took medical students to teach them how to do cleft lip markings. And we randomized them to learning through a textbook or learning through the simulator. And they were rated before and after they learned through either the textbook or the simulator. And what we found was that, well, one thing, having a medical student draw a cleft lip repair prior to any learning is actually entertaining. But what was very interesting is that the students were able to learn cleft lip repair faster, better, more accurately through simulation. And these were statistically significant results. This is a prospective randomized blinded trial. This was published in Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. If you do a Medline search, you'll be able to find it. The second prospective randomized trial was performed on surgical residents, plastic surgery residents prior to their exposure to cleft care. And what we did was we had them learn how to perform cleft lip repair either through a textbook or through the simulator. And in this case, they practiced surgery on an incredible model called a Simulaire model. And it's actually, this is also something that this company's been since acquired by SmileTrain. At the time it wasn't, but this is a plastic model, like a rubber model of a cleft lip. And he performed the surgery on this model. And the quality of the repair was the surgery was videotaped and rated in a blinded fashion by expert surgeons. And what we found was that surgeons training through the simulator versus a textbook did higher quality surgery. And this was also statistically significant. This was also published, prospective randomized blinded trial. So in terms of the science, there's actually very good science behind it. But what I would say is the best science, not the best science, but I think one of the most powerful messages that we've gotten is just its utilization. And the app has just been released, but in terms of the web-based simulator, this is used in over 130 countries, has over 5,000 user base, over 100,000 minutes of screen time. I mean, this is something that has been really embraced at an international level.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. It actually leads me to my next question, which is our audience, you mentioned Simulaire, which has really sparked everyone's interest. Is there potential for developing digital simulations that can work with Simulaire in the SmileTrain virtual surgery simulator?
Right. I have a lot of experience with Simulaire. I have done courses in different countries using the Simulaire model, and I've done courses here at my own institution. I think they complement each other. If you think about what the app and the virtual surgical simulator, that is something where you're learning by seeing, you're understanding the three-dimensional aspect, right? The Simulaire model is for practice. That's for physical practice. So you can, one's more cognitive and one's more technical, right? They both overlap, of course, but I think these resources can be used absolutely to prepare yourself for your operating room experience. If you really think about it, it's almost barbaric to conceptualize the idea that all of a sudden someone's going to all of a sudden do cleft care and start cutting a child's face, right? It makes sense that they should have at least some tries on a model and really start understanding the procedure a bit better and how to handle soft tissue. Maybe we'll get there at some point, but I think both of these resources complement each other. And I think that SmileTrain was very smart in acquiring Simulaire and making this part of their kind of educational program.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Aaron, I have a question for you. So given the technical aspects of the virtual surgery simulator, how does BioDigital Approach? I mean, the SmileTrain virtual surgery simulator is one simulator that you have developed. How do you approach these technical topics? And what is the, more importantly, what is the novel technology that is being used in the simulator? And can you explain more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So what is our approach? And our approach has evolved through the years. It's taking us less and less time to develop modules, but we have a team of medical illustrator and in-staff physicians who work with us. And we work with, the specialty physicians to create a storyboard of exactly what we're going to do in very fine detail before we do it. And we go through step by step what the visualizations will look like. One of the really, just a couple words about BioDigital. BioDigital is like a Google Earth of the human body. And if you go to biodigital.com, you were able to explore all the anatomy. That also is free if you want to just check it out. And essentially, we have a lot of the assets, the anatomy, the physiology, the pathology already developed, and we're able to step-by-step augment these visualizations to create a surgical procedure that's our general workflow. And what's novel about BioDigital is also like the 3D engine you're viewing is our own engine that we have developed through the years. So the 3D, all the different components are purely BioDigital developed components that we use to very quickly render, display, and all the things you interact with were developed by BioDigital. So that is pretty unique, going from content development all the way to deployment onto iOS, Android, mobile, and maybe in the future there are other things like AR, VR that we might approach.
Thank you. Dr. Flores, there's a lot of interest around other areas for research that you'd like to explore as it relates to simulation. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, this is something that I've been publishing in simulation and education for probably about 10 years now. So it is an area of great interest. I think that, you know, when I first started working on this, I thought it would be enough for us to create it and say, well, here it is. And what I found over time is you do have to prove its worth. And I think that's a responsible thing to do because, you know, if you don't, then you're kind of assuming a little too much. And also you have to see where it best fits in, right? I think that one important area now when the simulator is the app is released, who's using it, how often, what's their feedback, how is the world seeing the value, right? Because I could think that this works certain ways, and I'm sure it does work in many ways, but I may not realize exactly the best way it can work, or maybe some of the limitations, and then we can improve upon the product. So as I mentioned before, at some point, SmileTrain may be reaching out to many of you, and your feedback is important. That's the only way that we can improve upon a product that we've put a lot of work into, right? So I think utilization, who's using it, how they're using it, can really help us modify this app in a way to make it even more effective for our user base.
I have actually two more questions. So one question in particular is, it's very important to recognize that this is an app that advances surgical training, that it does not replace.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that we've gotten is, you know, having seen the excellent simulations of cleft lip and palate repair and future plans for orthodontic treatment, are there possibilities to expand the 3D simulations as a reference material for the biology of clefts, as a potential for anesthesia simulation and understanding the potential complications that can arise?
I mean, I think we're limited by our imagination, and I'm not saying that in a flippant way. I mean, the answer is, of course, we can do that. It's just a matter of, is this something that, let's say, SmileTrain is going to do, or another society is going to do, or just another group is going to do. I do think that, I don't think simulation can solve all problems, but I think it is a very effective tool that is far from being fully leveraged. So I do think that there are great opportunities still there. I think the use of simulation for surgical education is still in a relatively young phase. And I think SmileTrain has really been one of the pioneers in this. But I do think there's other opportunities, just a matter of who's gonna, you know, claim the mantle.
Aaron, this is another question for you. What made you want to develop, you know, when you look at the simulation modules, you have the ability to juxtapose a surgery that is actually taking place against an animation. And what was the thought process there in terms of learning? Could you give us a bit more?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, you know, as Dr. Flores mentioned, that each serves its own purpose. Where if you're looking, the animations have more of a schematic, they're less realistic, but they're clearer. So you can, when you look at one of these animations, you can understand the particular, steps of that procedure, and you can rotate it to any angle. You can't do that with any other media. When you're looking at surgical footage, you are stuck with one camera perspective. And so combining the ability to look at the surgery where you are seeing the reality, and then being able to rotate it to different angles, it kind of opens up your mind to more of the experience would be in the OR. So it just, the goal was to show you the reality of like moving your head around, seeing things from all different angles as you would in the OR, and at the same time providing the realism of what the surgery truly looks like. Because the animations aren't photorealistic, and there are benefits and negatives and cons when you're looking at the reality, because there are hands in the way, there's blood, you're blocking views. So that was part of the thinking behind that.
Thank you. Another question Dr. Flores is asking, so from a realistic standpoint, how could one actually implement usage of the simulator in their residency programs, medical students? Do you have any advice? And how are you requesting your students and residents to be using this utility?
So the basically all my trainees are required to use this as their resource. And they're very happy to. To be honest with you, the younger generation, I left that generation a while ago, but the younger generation really don't read textbooks the way my generation did. I would read a textbook cover to cover at least once a year, in addition to all the other things that I read. The younger surgeons, they're going to the internet. It's a little horrifying actually, because what's out there is not regulated. I've had people say, "Oh, I looked up on YouTube." I'm like, "Well, but who was making it?" Like, to be honest, surgical societies and foundations like Smile Train should be owning this space. Most don't. Smile Train is, but when you think about it, residents, a lot of trainees, they go to the internet, they go to YouTube. That should be somewhat horrifying to people in my position, and it is, right? Because you don't know what they're eating. It's like you don't know what your kids are eating. You don't know what they're putting in their bodies. You don't know what your trainees are putting in their minds. Previously, you knew that there's just a couple textbooks that people would read, and you'd want to know if they're reading them. So if you give them this app and you say, this is something reliable, I endorse this, they are going to consume that. It's not anything that I feel that they need any more impotence than that, because they are going through their phones. They are going through apps. And something like this is very modern, very contemporary. So it's actually very easy for me to incorporate this into teaching. In terms of a curriculum, I don't think there's a grand rounds format that suits this. This is a means for them to prepare prior to coming in the operating room.
And that's it. We've had a lot of questions. So I will hand it back to you, Dr. Flores, to wrap us up.
Sure. And I do appreciate the time. It's always a good sign that the question period is almost as long as the talk. And I think that says something about the interest there. I think that I would encourage the audience again to download the app, use it. You have a means to contact us. We do want to make this the most useful kind of resource for you possible. And I would also encourage you to tell other people about it. Tell your trainees, share it on social media, because we do want people to use this. We do want to get the word out. And we're available to you, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.